Hello guys, welcome back to the Beastie Room. Now, you would have remembered recently, not that long ago actually, maybe a month or so ago, we actually paired one of our Heterothele gabonensis, the Gabon Blue Dwarf Tarantula. Now these are a tiny little dwarf tarantula, no bigger than about 2 inches, very small. Now, they really are a very exciting little spider, and something that we want to try and do a little bit with in the future. But at the moment, we're trying to pair them. And this is our second adult female that we're pairing with a different male to what we used last time. And we just really, it's just such exciting stuff. I just had to share it with you. So I thought we'll put a video out together and just see what goes on. These really are exquisite little spiders. Right, have a look at this. Well, here we have our second adult female, Heterothele gabonensis, the Gabon Blue Dwarf Baboon Tarantula. Now these guys are found in Gabon in Africa, and well, look at that. Did you see the speed? He literally shot out of the enclosure, out of his pot, into hers, and straight out again. These guys are really quite difficult to pair. The males are extremely fast. Here we go. We caught him up, and now we're trying to very gently get him to come out of this sling pot, which gives you an idea of just about how big he is. He's only a little fella. And we've found these to be very difficult in pairing because the males are just super excitable, very nervous, very quick to run. He's such a handsome little fella. Look at that, what a beautiful close-up. He really is a gorgeous spider. You notice the white stripes which are literally on each segment of the leg. The males are very brown. The females, they carry the blue colour, which is where they get their name. Now these are a semi-arboreal spider, and they are literally quite often found up in the trees. And where they tend to live is in Upaka trees, where they live in large numbers. So they're really spread out. And this gives them rise to the fact that they are sometimes known as a communal spider. Now they have been bred communally, but it always ends with casualties where they will eat one another. And that is quite possibly the case in the wild state as well. It might just be that they populate a tree in such numbers that with constant breeding, you're not seeing the cannibalism that's going on in the wild environment. Now he's sitting there and he's literally taking stock. Now this is one of the things that we've noticed with this spider, and many of the very small spiders like these little dwarf spiders. They're a fascinating spider, and quite often they will sit for long periods of time before actually doing anything at all. And this is because I think they are just such nervous spiders. It takes them a good while to really settle down. And this is one of the spiders that we've found that you cannot rush the situation. It will take as long as it takes. And if we try to interfere in any way, it normally results in the male getting upset and running in a speed that you have never seen before. These are quite truly one of the fastest spiders I've ever had to deal with. There's our female. Oh, our male is, here he goes. You'll notice, you'll see with these, everything is done quick. Clearly see the emboli there on the end of the pedipalps of that male. He's relaxed again now. Now you can see there that the webbing all around him, there is a very thin layer of webbing all over the enclosure. Now we're keeping these in a bra plast tub purely for the ease of pairing them. This seemed to be the best method that we could come up with to actually pair these. And what we've done is we use a 3 litre bra plast tub. That then, because you've got a nice big area and it's flat, we then put that inside another tray which is filled with substrate and leaves, and then the tray then goes on top of our desk. And the idea is that hopefully our male, if he runs, will run out of the tub into the tray of leaves and stop. This doesn't always happen. We have had him run clean across the tray and straight out of the desk as well. So they are very, very quick, and being such a tiny spider in a room that is full of other bits and pieces, these guys can disappear and vanish in no time at all. So we have to be very, very careful how we go about doing this. Now the males for this species are relatively hard to come by. We see them in batches. You'll see 1 or 2 get offered up for sale, and then you don't see any for a long, long time. And then all of a sudden, a couple more will become available. Now we're lucky enough to have 2 mature males here, and we have 2 adult females and 2 very, very young adult females. So they're just on the brink of being viable for breeding. So we will try them, because there's a good opportunity that they will actually take and be good enough and old enough to be able to reproduce. And because of the way the males are, they don't have the longest of lives. So a male will be around about 2 years old when he passes, 2 to 2.5 years old. Not very old at all. Females only live for around about 6 to 7 years. So they're not a hugely long-lived spider. But when you consider they are such a small spider, that's quite a lifespan. Now, as we can see there, our male has not actually done anything. Oh, here he goes. He's actually woken up again. Just no sooner do you speak, he wakes up. You can see there that he's laid out quite flat. He will be absorbing any kind of response from our female. You can see the webbing there laid out all over the place. Now, generally speaking, when we've done these guys before, this can quite often take an hour or 2 to get to a successful pairing. And it's the actual introduction period which is the slow part. The pairing is relatively quick, and once they actually make contact, they don't normally hang about. They sort of get it on, and our male is on his way. It's this initial time in which they sit around and they're just absorbing the situation. Now, it might be a case that he is actually sending signals that we can't see. I mean, we can sit and study him and we're not seeing any movement. Nothing at all. But that doesn't say that, it doesn't mean that he's not actually sending signals to our female, even in this dormant state. Now, one of the things that we're hoping to do when we had a little bit of movement from him then. Yes, one of the things that we're hoping to do in the future is to actually set up a nice enclosure where we can give these guys some height, because as we said earlier on, they are a semi-arboreal spider. So it would be really cool to set up a proper exhibit style enclosure and allow them the freedom to go up. And then also as well, maybe if we give them something large enough, we can possibly go for that semi-communal sort of situation that we see them in the wild state. It would definitely be a project that would be quite a long-term thing. Now, we saw there that we got some decent tapping from our male, so he's not fallen asleep. Now the question is, has he been so quiet because our female is, maybe she is responding? Although she's off camera, we can obviously see what she's up to, and she hasn't moved at all. If she'd moved, we would have panned round and had a look at her. But what we're trying to do now is we're trying to see the movement. There he goes. We're trying to catch the actual movement from our male. Good solid slaps there from the front legs. You notice how he shakes them, then he lifts them and slaps them down. These will be sending very decisive signals to our female. There you go. You see that? He pulls on the web, lifts them up, slaps them down. There you go. Pulling on the web, lift them up, slap them down. Now you notice how he pulls on the web 2 or 3 times. There he goes. Lifts them up. Bang, slaps them down. Now this is obviously a very decisive language that we're seeing here. Here he goes. He's up in the tempo. Our female is moving. You can see how she's a little bit bigger than him in terms of her bulk. She's a little bit heavier. Similar size, just a little bit heavier. Look at that, he's almost just charging straight in there then. Oh, he's moving sideways. Very interesting behaviour. Now you can see there's a constant throbbing from our male. We have to be so careful when filming these because even external movements from me can upset this male and he will just tear off. Oh, look at that. You see that? He literally just disappeared out the back for no apparent reason. It looks like our female is, she's thinking, where on earth's he gone now? See her flexing her fangs there. Has that got something to do with the fact that he just bolted? They have got huge fangs for such a small spider. Here he comes. He's back in again. You notice the length of the pedipalps on that male? Very, very long. Here he goes. He does that vibration and then that slap. Now we've made contact, so things are looking good now. Things are heating up. Look at the length of those imboli. The pedipalps, sorry. Really, really long.
You know, it's the second pair of legs frantically shaking and tapping away there. As we see with many other spiders, it's the first and second pair of legs that are doing all of the communication. The rear pair are literally always poised for escape. Here we go. You see how the second pair are doing all the work now. The first pair are actually trying to lift our female up and secure her. The second pair are doing all the communication, and he's gone. He's back out the back door again. And you can see he's literally flipped round onto the back side and he's in again. Notice how fast everything is. They are so erratic. Now here he goes. Yeah. I can never quite tell with these guys whether maybe he is just showing off. It's interesting that if he thought his life was in any danger, he wouldn't sit there side on to her. He would face her. So I don't think he's in fear of his life. She's, whoa, look at that. He give her a slap then. Here we go. Notice the second pair of legs, frantic again. Oh, this is amazing. Look at this. And we are up and ready again. Absolutely wonderful. Now you can see how she's holding her pedipalps up. He's trying hard now with the front two legs. He's trying to get her into a position. Here we go. Now he's trying to get underneath her. Here you go, frantically searching for that epigastric furrow. Here we have insemination now. Yep, there we go. Our male has actually managed to penetrate our female. And there you go. Look how stretched he's got that first front leg. And he's away. You didn't even see him leave. It is so fast. So fast. Now at this point, he just disappeared. She spun round. She will now be looking for the entrance to her burrow. And all we can do now is hope that these guys produce a sac. Unfortunately, we are about to be moving, and these guys, they can really do with some peace and quiet when producing their egg sacs. So fingers crossed. We've had a couple of females now that we've paired, and hopefully they get enough peace and quiet while we're moving to actually produce these egg sacs. It'll be a wonderful addition to the beastie room. Fabulous spiders, absolutely beautiful, beautiful spiders.
Well, what do you reckon? I can't get enough of these spiders. I think they're absolutely fantastic. Now, do you see just how fast that male is? I mean, 1 minute you're looking at him, and then the next thing you know, it's like, where did he go? Now, people often say huntsmen are fast. Huntsmen are asleep in comparison. They really are. They haven't got a stitch on the gabonensis or the mahonda. They're the same. They're all in the same thing. And they are so fast, they're frustrating. And I mean, we have chased these males up and down this room, and believe me, it makes you grow old very quick. They are super fast. Now, you'd have seen in the other video how the setup we have with the tray and then the tub in the tray. You see all that in the video. Now, one of the things that makes them a little bit frustrating is we cannot intervene at any point. Now, you'd have seen before in other spiders, things like our avicularia, If they go a little bit wayward and we need to point them back in the right direction, we just coax them back in with a paintbrush and we move them over to where we want them to be. If you tried that with the gabonensis, he'd be like, well, yours, I'm off, and he'd be gone. He would literally be out like a light. He'd be flash, he'd be gone. So we cannot intervene at all, which can make it a really slow process because these guys seem to take a long time to actually make contact. They're really, really quite slow at how they go about it. Once they make contact, they don't hang about. They're like, just like everything else, they're super fast. But they're very, very quick. So trying to get them to make contact is the slow point. And it can take a couple of hours of literally just sitting there watching them doing absolutely nothing. And then all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose and we're on. Now, one of the things you would have seen there is I left it in the footage on purpose. And that was to actually see that our male did not move for what seemed like an age. And believe me, if you thought it was long on the video, you got the short version. Sitting this side of the desk, we had the long version, and he was there for a good probably hour and a half without doing anything at all. I did even wonder if he was dead at one point because he just hadn't moved for ages. And he literally sat there. And then all of a sudden, you see him, he like darts forward, and then he starts. And he sort of thinks, it makes you ask the question is, are they communicating with one another that we're not seeing? There must be very, very fine communications, tiny, tiny vibrations that we're not getting to see at all. And maybe that is what's going on. We think there's nothing happening whatsoever, but maybe they're chatting all the time. It's more than likely. So, and then you'd have heard me say in other pairing videos, we see a rhythm to what is going on with the communication. And you'd have seen with him, he literally scratches with them front two legs. He scratches 2-3 times, then he lifts them up, slams them down. Then he sits there. Then he repeats it, 2, 3, up in the air, slam them down. There's a very, very decisive thing of what he's doing. So when you watch them, it's really worth, with these videos, watch it, pick a point that you're interested in, then rewind, watch it again. You have to watch the whole video, that's the problem, because you see the continuity of what they're actually doing. And you then start to understand a little bit about the language between these two spiders. It's really fascinating stuff. Very, very interesting. And we actually saw them before, when they get it on. Now, you would have seen there, when they actually pair, they do the typical thing where the female literally gets folded backwards. And this is because of the way they're pairing. And it's quite abrupt. And then when he's done the job, boom, like a magic trick, he's vanished and he's gone. Now all we've got to do is try and find out where. Because quite often or not, we're looking down in the camera and we're doing everything we can. And we don't always see, this is the thing with them guys, we don't actually always see where they disappear to. So then it's just a case of, oh dear, where is he? But we always get them back in the end. Right, a fascinating piece of footage. I've really got my fingers crossed for these guys. Now, we do have one little problem, and that is the fact that we will be soon on the move. Everything's being packed up and we will be on the move. Now, with these guys, they really do require some peace and quiet in order them to actually produce their sacs and look after their sacs. They don't take too much interference. They don't like being disturbed. So, although we've paired them, we're really, really fingers crossed that we can get them through this time, and then hopefully we can get some youngsters at the end of it. They're a spider that when they do produce an egg sac, we leave it in with them. We allow them to hatch the egg sac. So it's all down to them now, and hopefully we can keep it quiet enough. So fingers crossed. We've got nothing to lose really by trying. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we'll have good things to report back in the future. Well then, I hope you enjoyed that. Please do be careful of that heater, my love. I don't know, she does it every time. When we get into our new beastie room, I think maybe we'll have wall-mounted heaters, or maybe hang them from the ceiling or something so she don't keep tripping over them. Right then, don't forget, be calm, be gentle, and love your spider. And I will see you soon, guys.